Hank, what's popping with the recruiting circuit? School's about to start, or maybe started for some of these guys. I'm sure you know that with your kids and stuff, but what's going on right now? What do we need to look for? What does Texas fans need to look for?
Yeah, so right now it's kind of a weird point. We saw today Jake Krull, the edge rusher from IMG Academy, a guy that Texas really liked. They were in his top three with Oklahoma and Ole Miss. For a minute there, we thought it was going to be Texas. I think they made a kind of a summer surge for him, but Oklahoma was able to kind of to rein it back in. They had been the team trending kind of entering the summer, and he committed to Oklahoma today on the Pat McAfee show. So that's kind of where we're at. We saw Davon Benjamin commit to Oregon earlier this month. That's what we anticipated he was going to do. So in terms of 2026 targets, there's really nobody Texas is like currently involved with or hosting on an official visit that isn't already committed somewhere. So it's kind of going to turn to, staying in contact with guys committed elsewhere that they like. You can go down the list. I think Davon Benjamin's a guy, despite being committed to Oregon, they're still going to stay after. A guy like Malachi Lee, the Michigan offensive line commit, that's a guy that Texas has really loved. I think they'll stay after him. But again, at this edge rusher position, missing on Krull, you got Richie Wesley committed, but Texas wants to take two guys there. So, I think they'll go into the season, kind of see where they're at, maybe some senior season evals, find a guy they really like that's been a senior riser, maybe like an Ethan Burke, with his story coming from Westlake and, getting that late offer from Texas and signing with the Longhorns. That's always in the works. There's the transfer portal if they want to do it, but they still have guys out there that they can pursue at that spot. And so, yeah, I think they still are looking at linebackers potentially to pair up with Atkinson and Okpala, and then maybe another guy or two in the secondary as well. And then that tight end position will be interesting to see what they decide to do there as well. If they want to go try and flip a guy like Hezzy Kent or Caden Prothrow, or I don't even know, Mark Bowman, who's making millions of dollars at USC probably. I don't know if they're going to try to pursue that anymore. But yeah, so right now it's real quiet. It's in a dead period. Recruiting's, it's never on the back burner, but it's as much on the back burner as it's going to be for a while as the teams are in fall camp. But come September, we'll see guys visit. We'll see more of these underclassmen visit, these 2027 kids that, we're learning more and more about ever since this camp, throughout the spring, and then the elite camp in June. So that'll start to become more of an emphasis. And then, you go right into signing day. Texas has their class mostly put together. There's just a few pieces here and there they want to add to it. And then, we'll go right into the portal where, they've been averaging, feels like 10 guys, if not more, per cycle. So, and then it starts right back over in January, junior day. So kind of quiet right now. Texas is in that top 6 classes in the country. We'll see, kind of what the fall brings in terms of pushes to flip anybody or senior season evals, and then into December with the portal.
Is there a flip candidate that you think fans should keep an eye on?
Yeah. I think Malachi Lee is really interesting. I think, Texas finished second for him against Michigan. And I think he really, I think he really did like Texas.
The offensive tackle.
He's from Hawaii. So maybe that's one to watch. In terms of the edge rusher position, and this is a guy, we haven't heard a ton of Texas buzz. They offered him in the spring and had him on a visit on a Sunday, like randomly in April, I think. But Landon Barnes, he's from Duncanville, and he's committed to Ole Miss right now. But in the summer, he was talking about wanting to set up a Texas official visit in the fall. So maybe that's a potential in guy. They try to look at maybe flipping into the fall, and then there's always a name or two. Like last year was Kellen Wiley that popped up in the fall. Texas tried to land him. He went to Miami. Even Grayson Littleton, he was committed to Clemson at this time last year. Texas had offered him prior, but there wasn't really any buzz about Grayson Littleton. He opened things back up in late October. Texas got him in on that weekend, and the rest was history there. So there's, always 2 or 3 guys we're not even talking about right now that are going to pop up. And so, yeah, 5 months away from December, there's still plenty that can kind of unfold here.
Hank, do you have of the guys who came, the freshman receivers, Dalen McCutcheon, Khalil Lockett, Jamie French, Michael Terry III, did you have a guy that you really liked out of that group coming out of high school? Because those guys have made plays. It's been a little inconsistent. Your thoughts on that group?
Yeah. I kind of went between, back and forth between a lot of them. The guy that didn't maybe didn't get enough attention was Dalen McCutcheon. Everyone thought that, when he committed to Florida State, it's because he wasn't a take at Texas, and that just wasn't true. Texas really liked him. And then obviously the rest is history. He flipped from Florida State early in the season. He's just kind of he's a gamer in terms of receivers. He's not afraid to come across the middle, lay a block or take a hit, catch the ball in traffic. I think that's what I really like about Dalen McCutcheon. But the more as the cycle went on, I really, gravitated more towards Khalil Lockett in terms of maybe if I had to pick a favorite receiver in the class. And Michael Terry, it's kind of hard to say because, we were always considering him as an athlete. Was he going to play running back? Was he going to play receiver, tight end, or, earlier on in the cycle, it was like he could play on the defensive side of the ball too. But Khalil Lockett, I think he's got huge hands. He can catch the ball in traffic. He can win those 50-50 balls. He wasn't, the best attribute you can have as a receiver is he doesn't drop passes. He's like a very sure-handed kid, and he's got speed. So, I really liked him towards the end. And, obviously we had him as a 5-star in the 24/7 Sports rankings. So he was probably the guy I'd circle in this wide receiver class. But I think there's a lot to like about each of them. They kind of have a good mix, kind of like a tight end, in terms of body types at this from that receiver haul in 2025.
Well, and real quick about Parker Livingstone, because that buzz is real.
Yeah.
Parker Livingstone and Emmett Mosley, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, are battling it out. Probably to be in that top 3 receiver rotation. Yeah. Give us your thoughts on Parker Livingstone.
Yeah. He was just, all he does is make plays whenever I've seen him. I remember his senior season. Unfortunately, he got hurt. I think it was either the second game of his senior season or the end of his first game. But Jordan Scruggs from Horns247 was there. He was playing at, I think they were playing A&M Consolidated. And I don't have his stat line right here, but it was probably a full season's worth of highlight plays. He was returning punts for touchdowns. He was catching deep touchdown passes. This is the same high school as Dalen McCutcheon, Lovejoy. He was just all over the field. And then unfortunately, his senior season got derailed. But a guy that just does things right. He's going to run the right route. I know that when we were watching them in practice, the coaches were praising him for, not rounding out his routes. He was staying flat. He was making good cuts, and he was just where he needed to be. I think one of the plays he made, Sark was like, that's an NFL route right there or whatever. Forgot exact wording he used, but they've been very impressed with him. But, obviously a big kid, a big target for Arch Manning to throw to. A guy, they have good chemistry together, obviously. So I think
roommates.
Yes. Yeah. That helps, kind of back to the days of Colt McCoy and Jordan Shipley in terms of kind of that chemistry they have. So, regardless of whether he's the first out there with Moore and Wingo, or if it's Mosley, we're going to see a lot of Parker Livingston. And I think he's going to make some big plays for the team this season.